All right, everybody, holding up. This is our last panel of the day before we...
second last.
Second to last? Which one's the last?
Captain Raghunath. Keynote.
Oh, that's a keynote. That's not a
I
panel.
thought-
So this is the last panel.
I thought you had some tea and you were up and awake now. So we have a very interesting panel coming up on virtual reality. And I would request Dinesh Dhamija, who's also a global trustee with TIE, to please come and introduce all the other panelists.
Thank
Yes,
you.
please. Thank you. Come on, guys, give it up. Last panel for the day, technically.
Is he real or is he virtual? I just want to know.
Virtual. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's the graveyard shift. Everyone's pretty tired. I won't take long. There are 5 panelists coming up. Smita Bagla, who leverages machine learning and virtual reality. Gabe Paez, immersive media. You've seen the holodeck on Deep Space Nine, that sort of thing. Ed Lotz, immersive entertainment, merging virtual with physical spaces. He works in Hollywood. Kate McCullum, who teaches virtual art. And last but not least, Mritunjay Kapur from KPMG, who is going to talk about the infrastructure needed in virtual reality in India. Welcome. Let's give them a round of applause.
I'm a little short. So how's everyone today? All set to be immersed in a virtual space? And just relax and just enjoy? So tell me, I would like to get a show of hands as how many people loved Star Trek or watched Star Trek? Okay, Star Trek The Next Generation? Am I like too old here for most of them? Okay. So just think that if you could do anything without moving, just staying at home. Oh, also tell me how many people braved traffic to get here today? Wouldn't it have been wonderful if suppose you were sitting at home and you came here and you were just as if you were sitting here and enjoying the whole conference? Wouldn't that be good? And you could just be drinking tea and just have the VR headsets with you? So that's what our virtual reality is about, right? So I binged watched Star Trek, The Next Generation, and being the lazy person I am after being a computer engineer, I just wanted to sit at home and virtually travel the world, virtually watch movies, virtually play everything. So today we have an awesome gathering here of our panelists who are going to take us through virtual reality as well as physical space. So I was trying to see where my slides are. So here. So do you guys know, how many people understand the difference between virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, real reality? What are we facing right now? Is this real reality or is it augmented reality? It's all complicated, right? So, I'm sorry? It's all Maya and it's all Mithya, right? So we are going back to our old sages thing that world is nothing but Mithya. It's all just imagery. So here I have a slide on basically that explains to you that we are in real environment watching TV, or we could be in an immersive environment where we are physically touching things, but we are still in real world, but it is overlaid by different images so that right now this podium becomes like a really nice piano for me when I do that. That's augmented reality. As you move ahead into more virtual space, that becomes virtual reality. So the next slide is basically virtual reality is the use of computer to place a user inside an experience virtually. You just sit there, put a headset, move your hands, and there you experience everything. That's virtual reality for you. So we have here Gabe Paez, who is going to talk to us about how we do collaborative design. So you take a physical object, I want to give it across the globe, right? I just scan the object, and I just have it there. And the friend over there says, oh, I don't like the object, I want to change it a little bit. Boom, we make a hologram of it, we both go into a virtual room, and we play with the object, and then we teleport the object, change it, 3D print it, and with the synchronized sensors, so now somebody's sitting in America like we were, and here we are in India. So we didn't really have to come here. We could all be virtual holodecks. Wouldn't that have been wonderful? So we have Gabe here from Portland, we have Ed from Hollywood, we have Mritunjay from KPMG who will bring us back to India, and Kate also from Hollywood. So here we have our virtual multi-location product design meeting, or immersion domes, that is Ed's specialty, and he's going to talk about that. And then, in the end, you guys should be ready for Steven Spielberg's new movie that's coming out that is based on where everyone is obsessed with virtual reality system that allows you to live your best life. So that is what we are working with. And then there are enormous uses of virtual reality, but I will just leave the slide here, and we'll talk about it after the panelists have done. So at this time, I'd like to call Gabe, and he will take us through an awesome demo. And Gabe, I would like to tell just a little bit about him, is that he is the founder and CEO of Wild Space based in Portland, Oregon. And they are developing a cloud-based real-time collaboration platform for designers to create and share spatial design in virtual and augmented reality. He has 12 years of experience leading technical teams. And prior to Wild, he designed and engineered immersive software product for many companies like Google, Samsung, Nike, AT&T. And he graduated with honors from New York University with degrees in theater and computer science. So Gabe, could you please be here? Thank you.
Thank you. So it's really great to be here. Go ahead and put my deck up, please. So yes, my background is in the design and engineering of immersive software environments. I've built large interactive touch tables, touch walls, projected map surfaces. And what I've realized as a common through line in all of my work is when building ambitious products, it's very important early on to be able to communicate those ideas to people. And what I found is there's a communication breakdown that happens early on in the design process of any ambitious idea where you really need to communicate to not only collaborators but your client a vision that you have. And so what do we do as spatial designers? We might build physical prototypes of those ideas. We might build scale models. On the digital side, you could build a digital 3D render or a photorealistic render of that idea. But the problem inherent in all of those solutions is that they don't have that really special combination of being fast enough to really iterate quickly and fail fast in that early stage of your design. But also affordable enough to be able to make it realistic for all different sizes of projects. And then most fundamentally, the idea of them being, having an immersive platform to be able to really experience that idea. So, you know, everyone's probably experienced this where you're looking at a photo of an idea and you just don't have that connection to understand what's it like to actually be at that place. You need to wait and sort of wait till it's built out physically to experience it and really have that feeling of what it's going to be like to be there. So I formed Wild to really evolve our capabilities in this space, be able to work smarter, work faster, work more connected together. And as Wild, we've built a platform called Wild Space, which is a SaaS solution. It's a collaborative design tool for designers to create and share their work together in real time, dynamically across distance. So I'm going to give you a little view inside of Wild Space and what that looks like. So this demo, what you're looking at here, was recorded just a few days ago from India. So there you see Misha and Taylor. They joined from the United States, both in different cities. So we were joining this session from 3 different locations across the globe. And basically you'll see that Misha and Taylor are able to teleport themselves into that model, that scale model on the work surface there. And I can talk to them through my laptop that I was recording this on. They can talk to me through their VR headsets. And they're now down in immersive mode. I can teleport myself down there and experience this design at 1-to-1 scale, just like I was inside of this, cliff house building. And they can go back up and make themselves giants to me and look down on me from above. And it's very useful to be able to be a giant when you're designing because you can move walls and furniture around effortlessly. So there's a great power to being able to manipulate your scale when you're trying to design quickly. You can see that everything inside of a wild space can be manipulated, moved, scaled naturally, as if you were in a physical environment. Misha here is opening his portfolio, which is your drive into all of your content that you have, all of the 3D models that you can spawn. So he can search with his voice and reach out and pull out this chair and drop it into the space, and it spawns instantly, even across this great distance globally. So he's able to position that content. So now Taylor's going to show us the ability to move between spaces. So spaces are sort of our document format in this cloud environment. The spaces show up as these portals, these windows, magical windows into different worlds. So Taylor can go inside of that portal and be looking at us through the portal and then transport us into this new space. This is an example of a space built entirely inside of Wild Space. So the previous space had imported models that they had loaded in locally and from online. This space was built with our prototyping tool called Masset inside of Wild Space. Masset is a tool for rapidly ideating inside of this immersive 3D environment. So the idea isn't to get a photorealistic design. The idea is just to flesh out your idea quickly. So what is this gazebo, this outdoor area going to look like, or what could it look like, really rapidly? And you can see here that with 2 designers, we can very quickly iterate and create ideas at the speed of thought. So you're designing quickly, rapidly together in one seamless environment. Not only can you create these forms, but you can paint these forms with our paint tool. You can group them, you can create components, you can save those components, and it's all of this capability that comes together to create not just a new modeling tool for doing 3D modeling, but really a communication tool. A tool to be able to communicate ideas together in real time, rapidly. You'll see that here if Misha likes this bench and he wants to save it for a different design, he can grab it, he can put it into his portfolio, and he can use our voice to text to name it and then save it for later. But the real power of Wild Space comes in the multi-platform capability. So though you can join from a virtual reality device, you can also join from augmented reality like I'm showing you here. So this is just running on a typical iPad Pro. You can move around and sort of spatially move around this design. You can still talk into the iPad and communicate with anybody who is inside of the space. And then here you see a design overlaid on an actual physical environment. So you can do that externally, overlying the idea on top of the physical area where it will be actually built out. So all of that functionality and capability wraps up to create this new kind of design environment called Wild Space. So taking a step back and looking at these platforms as sort of the separation, how we typically right now think of digital content. There's this separation between what is physical and then digital, the internet and then what we might call the real world, But what's really happening here, kind of like Smita was saying, is there's a spectrum being created. A spectrum of physical to digital. And right now our technology is just stepping up to the plate to really make this capability and this spectrum possible. So you have physical reality, not real reality, but physical reality on the left, and then all the way your spectrum to virtual reality and everything in between. But fundamentally, what is important to everyone to understand is what underlines the spectrum itself, which is X reality or XR. So all of these names, all these technologies, they're not mutually exclusive. So it's not like virtual reality is going to be, is less viable than augmented reality or anything else. They all have value in different applications, both on the hardware and the software levels, different strengths and different weaknesses. And so as software developers or as hardware developers, what you're going to see over the next 5 years is a collapsing of all of those technologies into just defining a new kind of reality, a more powerful reality where we're leveraging the user-friendliness of our physical world and the ergonomics of our physical world with the power and connectivity of the digital mediums that we've built up, the networking, and the ability to design at the speed of thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. And we'll take questions afterwards. And at this time, so I'd like to call Ed. And Ed is basically, I have to read with my glasses. Ed Lantz is an entertainment technology engineer, entrepreneur, immersive experience designer. He founded Vortex Immersion Media in 2007 to bring 360-degree immersive and interactive experiences into mainstream arts and entertainment market. And they have done a lot of festivals in which you immerse yourself and you can get, basically you stand there and you get this immersive experience. He has worked with CAA, Condé Nast, EMC, IBM, Live Nation, Microsoft, to name a few. And he operates the Vortex Dome, the first commercial immersive media events venue located in downtown Los Angeles. And it has hosted a wide range of special events. Ed, would you join us, please?
Thanks, Smita. That's really awesome stuff, Gabe. And, VR has been defined a lot by the headset. That's VR. But to put the work that I do in context, I'd like to point out that there really is an ecosystem of VR, as Gabe pointed out, where a number of different delivery platforms, if you think about it, there's screens all around us now. We have a screen that we carry in our pocket. We watch a screen at home. There's screens here. Well, eventually, we'll just be completely surrounded by pixels, regardless of how they're delivered. And it's very exciting. So there's a ton of applications. Some of them have been around for quite a long time. So, the industrial and the CAD design like that. Now, my work is more in the entertainment domain. In entertainment, we're not trying to simulate physical reality always. We want to create a magical reality, right? Maybe something that you can't experience in the physical world. So there's a number of different embodiments. I'll just go through these quickly. But mixed reality, like the Void, is a version where you put on an untethered headset and walk around, but there's physical things you touch. But they look different when you put on the headset. There's also the virtual roller coaster, right, where you put on a headset and go on the roller coaster, and you're seeing a different world. Mobile AR, like Pokemon Go. There's AR glasses that augment the world. Wherever you go, those are going to be coming out more and more. You'll see Magic Leap and like that. And then the work that I do is called spatial augmented reality. And in this case, we actually project pixels right onto objects. And there's different forms of that. Here's a quick example of a spatial augmented reality application. And the interesting thing here is everything you see, just about, maybe not the Coke can, is projected. So that's a spatial augmented reality application. Now, if you add to that gesture tracking and also specific ID, identifying specific people in space, now you can create what's called a sentient space. That's what I call it. and add to that machine learning. And so now the computer knows who's in the room. It knows what you're doing or how you're gesturing. So you could walk into a room, reach into the cloud, pull your personal data, throw it onto a surface, trade photos, friend people with a handshake, like that. This is all coming. The domes that I work with, which are ways to project images around you, are a special case within spatial augmented reality. I call that spatial immersive displays. So we're actually, it's a specialized surface. It's not like a living room with a couch necessarily. The idea is you turn down the lights and the room disappears and you're in another world. And you could be in that world with 5,000 other people. So some of you have seen these systems, like soaring over California, Disney, digital planetariums, IMAX theaters, you know. Of course, that's film. What we're doing is now digital and interactive. What my company in the past, well, the work that I did in the past, I used to design planetariums. And so I designed a dozen domes around the world and then left to start my own company where we started doing pop-up domes. These are temporary structures where we put up and do events. So I'll show you later some of those events that we've done, some case studies. These domes are very flexible, 360 projection spaces. You can projection map onto the stage as well. And you can build them bigger and bigger. There are some colleagues of mine who are planning a dome in Vegas that'll hold 18,000 people with the LED dome. So I kind of see the domes as like a tour bus through VR for a group of people versus a sports car where you're in control. And if you think about it, if you're going out of home with your friends, do you really want to put a headset on and opaque out the world? Or do you want to be there with your friends eating a hot dog or something, right? A little hard to do with a headset on. Although I guess you could have a feeding tube, you know. We have a studio in downtown Los Angeles. It's a 50-foot, a 15-meter diameter dome. And we use that theater for developing original content. We are working on a really wide range of programming, everything from esports, cultural type programming, tourist destination programming. And we do a lot of branded work for big brands, experiential marketing, and EDM parties, concerts, you name it. So these are just a few of the live performances that we've supported over the years, and it's just getting better and better. So here's some case studies. The Stella Sensorium was up in Toronto a couple of years ago, and it was an immersive dining experience. There were 80 place settings, and we had a 6-course meal, and it was multi-sensory. So there was a surround video, surround sound, vibration, and aroma. That sold out in advance a whole month full of servings. This is a 200-foot, about a 60-meter diameter inflatable structure. It was a party for the founder of Minecraft and 3,000 of his closest friends in downtown LA. This is a concert we did for Donald Glover. He's an up-and-coming artist in the US, actor, rap artist, and writer, director, all that. And he wanted something very immersive, so we put up this 160-foot, I guess 40-something meter dome, 2,500 people per show, and we did 5 shows over 3 days. So that's just an example of some of the projects we've done. Future, we have an Interplex, which is an entertainment complex, like a shopping mall for entertainment experiences. We are working on a sentient virtual reality nightclub where you can hang out in the metaverse or come into the real world and experience avatars. You can dance with avatars and the photonic go-go booths and some cool stuff like that. This is a dome that we're planning to put up in Las Vegas. So, and we're going to expand outside of the dome and create a smart village. The smart village is like a smart city, but it's a scaled down prototype of a smart city. And we'll have artists there engaging with people. You know, they'll whistle and a drone will land in their hands like that. So anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an awesome experience to be part of the Dome. And now I'd like to call Kate. She's she's a delegate from Producers Guild of America, and she does visual art and storytelling. Kate, please.
Thank you so much, Smita, and thank you for inviting me here to speak today. Really appreciate it. With all the amazing technologies that we're seeing and the tools that we now have to create with, what I want to speak to today is more on the creative and the storytelling aspect of, if I can get this clicker to work, sorry. There we go. So with all the tech and these new venues, we have to also look at what types of experiences we're designing and creating. We all know that stories can transport us to other worlds. We can experience different times and places, people, and connect with universal emotions. So a little bit about my background. I worked for 20 years in the studios with Universal and Paramount in television and feature film with the writers. And then I left to launch my own company, and I work in a multitude of platforms now, as well as consult in transmedia storytelling. And I also am the managing editor of the Camera Operator magazine for the Society of Camera Operators, telling their stories about their experiences creating some of the world's top film and television out there. So I'm a member of the Producers Guild and have served on the board of the New Media Council for the last 4 years. And our role in the Producers Guild is to educate over 8,000 professional producers on media tech literacy and the new tools and technologies that are emerging through which we can tell our stories. So last week we produced a conference called Producing and Marketing for Social Impact, and we looked at organizations that support the creative community to tell stories that help change the world, basically. So we worked with Hollywood Health and Society out of USC, and Hollywood Health and Society provides writers and filmmakers with experts dealing with social impact issues like health issues, eco issues, and they bring these experts to the storytellers so that they can put these topics into their stories and gain impact through audiences, which is a very exciting topic that we're passionate about. Another organization that participated was a Science and Entertainment Exchange. That's an organization sponsored by the National Association of Science. And the same goes with them. They bring scientific experts to the writers and community to imbue stories with more truth in science. And then another organization is Journeys in Film, and they create curriculum to accompany film and use film to teach classes in high schools, along with curriculum design. So this is all symbolic of the power of story to really impact society and culture. And then we also run a nonprofit called the Center for Conscious Creativity, and we look at emerging media tech platforms and how these tools can help create a better world. So one of the topics that I've become kind of an expert in is transmedia storytelling, which gives us a way to approach all these different technological platforms with some type of order, where we can take a story world or a franchise, IP as we call it in contractual terms, and then start to look at ways to extend that story into multiple platforms like VR, AR, online gaming, live experiences. So this chart gives you an example of, with your story world and your IP at the center, how you can start to tell different aspects of that story in other media platforms. And it's also, another term is story world building. That's becoming more and more popular, and the same holds true for this approach. So we work with a global futurist think tank called the Millennium Project, and we did a report in 2011 to identify all the different ways and platforms that are emerging in the landscape to extend our stories and our franchises out in creative and technological platforms. And we identified at that time approximately 47, and now we can add even more to that as VR, AR, and mixed reality is emerging. And one of the experts in this approach is Disney, and he started by creating a theme park where he could bring his stories and characters to life, as well as Star Wars, which is one of the top franchises in the world, and that franchise has grossed over $38 billion in 32 years, not just with the films, but also all the licensing fees that they've accumulated through different ways of extending their story world. And some of these ways, again, can be educational or scientific. Even a religion was created from the Star Wars concept called Jediism, which is pretty interesting. Another franchise that's very powerful that Disney now owns as well is Marvel. And this was a touring dome experience that portrayed different characters from the Marvel world. And now that particular concept has also been built into a brick and mortar experience in South Korea. This just opened recently. So we can look at how VR is being extended from The Martian. They had a very successful VR gaming platform that they created and used to help extend that story world, which came from a book that was made into the film. And then IMAX is also now creating virtual reality spaces in addition to their giant screen experiences. So Netflix recently came out with an app for VR, and that's just a way of watching films in a headset, much like you have your audio headsets for your music and your phone. Now you have headset for film viewing if you want to completely opaque yourself out and have privacy. So we see that this whole phenomena of moving into immersive space is also now starting to take place in the cinemas. And Spielberg said, the future is immersing into these story worlds. So in the cinema spaces, we have 4D experiences where we're experiencing smell, movement, water, and these are all now added to the traditional way of viewing flat screen stories. The ScreenX experience is a 3-screen experience that was launched out of Korea, which gives you a little bit more of an immersive experience. And then also the Barco Escape is a competitor to ScreenX, the same approach where you have not just the front screen, but 2 side screens. As Ed showed, you have now the ability to also, with a dome, completely immerse in a 360. So another phenomena that we're seeing becoming more and more popular is using a film to also enhance an immersive experience by having audiences participate in the experience and in a site-specific location. So Secret Cinema did Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge last year, and it sold out. 70,000 people came to that event. And then the movie was also re-released, and additional profit was made off the screening. So also Little Cinema out of New York is becoming more and more popular, which is watching a film, but also adding additional theatrical elements. So my time is up, so I'm just going to move ahead quickly through some of these other slides. These are some of the immersive experiences that we've created at the Vortex Dome. Amrita Sen with Bali Doll, and this was a mixed media musical. Also Passion, mixed media musicals, and we do live concerts with 360 backdrops. So you can see a few examples of some of the musicians that have performed with us. And recently, Jay-Z used our dome to shoot a portion of a music video that now has gotten over 11 million views. And this is just a short little video on a dome project that we are working on with a producer that also helps with educational understanding of the Elephant Project. very much.
Thank you, Kate. That was an immersive experience. And now we have Mritunjay from KPMG, and he'd like to talk a little bit about, will all this work in India? Will this infrastructure work in India?
We're actually running quite late on time.
Just a couple of...
So if you really want to do this in a couple of minutes, great, because we have the next panel waiting. We're way over time for this one.
Sure. So I know we're really short of time, but I think it's really important to put this in context. So I do a lot of work on use cases around IoT, virtual reality, and essentially looking at companies, how do they utilize all of these new technologies that are coming forth. Now, I think 2 or 3 fundamental points that I do want to make as we go through all of these presentations. I think the one I came the closest last week on coming very, very close to working on virtual reality when I was having an argument with my son, and he wanted to buy Nintendo Switch, which is like an 80s video game, as opposed to what I wanted to buy, which was the PlayStation VR. And he said he didn't want to buy the PlayStation VR purely because it didn't have good graphics. So that's the closest that I got. But I do want to make a point out here is that in India, for VR to be successful, we still have a few years to go. Just look at the whole infrastructure that exists. 80% of our towers are not connected by optical fiber cable, which means that essentially speeds over 100 Mbps on an average are very rare to achieve in the scale of operations that we have. 2, I think smart cities as a phenomena are coming and getting built, but and there will be several use cases when we go in there, but that is yet to come. 3, I think the whole push that the government is doing towards 5G will potentially be an important enabler in terms of how virtual reality really comes into play. And the opportunities that exist out there specifically would be on healthcare. Healthcare is a huge opportunity in India for VR, but the real issue is how do you take it to the gram panchayats or localize to the rural areas. That's one big factor. With 11,000 crores being spent to really power or digitize 1 lakh villages, I think it's important that this concept gets built in. The other element is, do we need VR as is? And I know it's great technology, but do we need something which is, say, a VR Lite, which is a version that can be used for healthcare? And the second big use that you have in India is health and safety. And that would be a significant part of how we move forward. Of course, as far as entertainment goes, I think if you look at entertainment, the dome, it's a great concept. But considering the real estate cost in India, I think if you can convert some of the cinemas into domes without changing or redoing the structure, it would be a great, it would have a great uptake on an immediate basis. So I know I've got all these glares coming in terms of my time being up, but possibly want to end with the fact that I think it's a great opportunity. We've got to start working on it now. My presentation is virtual and being teleported to you, so you'll probably get it as soon as we end this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot to the entire panel. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Can we get some gifts, please?